Hello and welcome to my kitchen. So since dear Whitney was so good to remind me that I needed to talk about Hubie Brown, I figured I would do it here easiest because I want to talk about a specific talk that he gave in 1969, specifically in May of 1969, which was kind of a tumultuous time in the nation's history. And the reason I want to talk about it is because a lot of the talk that he gave, you can find it on the BYU Speeches website, but only the audio is there. You can also find the text elsewhere on the BYU website, but the text cuts out a whole lot of the talk. And sometimes it does dot, dot, dots, and sometimes it does brackets, and sometimes it doesn't tell you what it leaves out. So the talk is fantastic. But Hubie Brown is just fantastic in general. And one of the things I love about Hubie Brown is Hubie Brown was an intellectual in the way that a lot of our church leaders have been intellectual, but he was also, I kind of want to say he was a total fence sitter. Except for that he wasn't. He very firmly made his points and had his convictions, but he also recognized that he didn't have everything, and this talk has a lot of it. In fact, this talk is one of the talks that had several quotes of it pulled out, decontextualized, or mixed around by a lot of fun groups recently. So it's a great talk. And one part that I wanted to quote that he says is, where'd I put it? The possibility of coherent community action is diminished today by the deep mutual suspicions and antagonisms among various groups in our national life. As these antagonisms become more intense, the pathology is much the same. Whether the group involved is made up of black power advocates, rioting students, rural right-wingers, urban radicals, or southern segregationalists. The ingredients are, first, a deep conviction on the part of the group of its own limitless virtue or the overriding sanctity of its cause. Second, grave doubts concerning the moral integrity of all others. Third, a chronically aggrieved feeling that power has fallen into the hands of the unworthy, that is, the hands of others. You know as well as I do how widely scattered are those seeds of civic disintegration. You have sat in on conversations where hatred is just beneath the surface. You have listened to the arguments in which difference of opinion becomes defined in terms of unalterable good and evil. You have heard the degrading characterizations of those with whom one disagrees. You have listened to the bigotry of the conservative and the bigotry of the liberal. You have observed the steady drop in the level of discourse and behavior. In a world caught in nerve-wracking tensions, a world in which modern communications keep us continually informed of all the folly, tragedy, and danger that the great globe can offer, we all live with an undercurrent of anxiety, and the anxiety seeks an outlet. As the pressure rises, we feel a need to strike out, to fix the blame, to find a villain. It isn't so easy to accept the fact that the world's ills are complex in origin, and that what is wrong is our own hearts and minds. Political extremism involves two prime ingredients: an excessively simple diagnosis of all the world's ills, and a conviction that there are identifiable villains at the back of it. Such extremism comes easily to men who have doped themselves with delusions of their own overriding virtue and the rascality of others. Blind belief in one's cause and a low view of the morality of other Americans, these may seem mild failings, but they are the soil in which rancor weeds take root. Political lunacy, terrorism, and the deep, destructive cleavages that paralyze a society. Perhaps one of the most interesting about that isn't Hubie Brown. That is, I forgot his name. That is John W. Gardner. This is from 1965-ish. He said the same thing in several spots. It's quoted in different places, but it's the same stuff. This is from an article in the ABA Journal, whatever that is, in 1967. It was also published in a book, Freedom and something else. But that's what Hugh B. Brown quotes. And John W. Gardner is the Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare to Lyndon B. Johnson. Elsewhere in the speech, he quotes Richard Nixon. Pretty much everything from anybody in politics is cut out of the talk, so a lot of this is cut out. All the stuff about Richard Nixon is cut out of the text of the talk. It's still there on the audio, and I do recommend you listen to it. But that's what I like about Hugh B. Brown. I mean, Hugh B. Brown was probably all up on the Romney train. He actually starts the talk by talking about Romney and how great Romney is. And in addition, Romney, I mean, this is something that we don't really think about. We talk a lot about how Elder Benson was in, he was in Eisenhower's cabinet, right? How much do we talk about David Kennedy, the guy that the David Kennedy Center for International Relations at BYU is named after, that he and George Romney, will admit, Romney's dad, were both on Nixon's cabinet. I saw somebody today talking about how, Mormon's never going to win a conservative Mormon's never going to win a blue state, but it's been 1 week? No, sorry. It's been 30 years now, 40 years almost, since a Mormon was even in a cabinet, right? And in 1969, there were 3 million Mormons in the world, and now there's a lot more. And we have had some withdrawing from the world, or at least a lack of activism, so maybe that's a good thing about current things. But anyway, that's not what I wanted to say. I want to say that I love how Hugh B. Brown recognizes complexity. And I joke about how his name is Hugh Brown, and you wouldn't expect that somebody whose parents were cousins would really get down on complexity, but he does, and that's probably why I like him, is I like looking at the context and the complexity of things. And one other thing he says in here, nope, that's not the one I wanted. There's so much in here that isn't in here anymore, and I really don't like that. And I wish that... Here we go. I know what the part is. What? God. I'm looking. So this talk was given on May 13th, 1969. On May 12th, 1969, the First Presidency did one of those official letters to the church, right? And it was published May 12th. So this is probably the first public proclamation of it, and I'm trying to find it, but I can't now, and so you'll have to listen to the thing. But I guess, I don't know. Let me read this other part that I like, since I can't quote the whole lengthy part, which is awesome. One may not obtain salvation by merely acknowledging allegiance, nor is it available in ready-to-wear stores or in supermarkets, where it may be bought and paid for. That it is an eternal quest must be obvious to all. Education is involved in salvation and may be had only by evolution, the unfolding or developing into our potential. It is in large measure a problem of awareness, of reaching out and looking up, aspiring and becoming, of pushing back our horizons, of seeking for answers, and of searching for God. In other words, it is not merely a matter of conforming to rituals, climbing sacred stairs, bathing in sacred pools, or making pilgrimages to ancient shrines. The depth and height and quality of life depends on awareness, and awareness is a process of being saved from ignorance. Human beings cannot be saved in ignorance. And then elsewhere, there are forces. He talks a lot about education. And there's a great comparison to the Know-Nothings and Germany and the way that anti-electoralism works in American and politics, which is totally not something we're dealing with now. But then I like this. I think the expression keep it cool is peculiar to your age. But it means in reality, do not be impatient. Too many young people are so impatient that when they press an electric button, or search for Google, they can't wait for the answer. They think there is a gap somewhere. They think it is because of the old folks that don't know enough to push the button. As you go forward in your search for truth, and as you espouse principles and establish ideals toward which to work, pray for the courage to be true to your loyalties, to your ideals, and to yourself. It has been said that those who know the precepts and neglect to obey them are like those who light a candle in the darkness and then close their eyes. It's just, it's so great. And then he says that he's going to have to, shorten his talks, and he still talks for, a lot longer. I'm going to try to find that thing again. Sorry that you're having to deal with me just looking for things. Yeah, all I can find on it is people... Okay, I might have found it. Maybe. Nope, no luck. So, here's the thing about Hugh B. Brown. He lived in a time of great tumultuous noise. The political electoral map of the U.S. would be totally flip-flopped. 1964, Johnson won almost the entire country except for the Deep South. In 1968, Nixon won a lot of places, but Nixon executed what he called the Southern Strategy, and you saw a flipping. Almost everything that was Democrat in 1964 was Republican by 1972. And a lot of it has stayed Republican since then, because demagogues and flattery and racism and fault lines and changing whatever else is, right? And there's a lot of complexity, and there's a lot more than I can get into, especially considering this video is already 12 minutes long. But the things he says about keeping your eyes open is what I'm trying to do with all my little videos lately. Because there's a whole lot out there, and summing it up in sound bites and clips is a pain in the butt. Right? One of my biggest problems with a lot of the politics, and especially with the politics of the Trumpers, is that it deals so much in suspicion and innuendo, with no evidence to back up so much. Right? I mean, we say things like the stuff in 2 Nephi 29, 28, about each ring may marry, nevertheless fear God, but he will justify and committing a little sin, yea, lie, take advantage of one because of his words, dig a pit for the neighbor, there is no harm in this, or, it is no sin to lie, that they may catch a man on a lie, and all of this, and I see it everywhere, and I see people that I know, they would never lie directly, but they're totally cool passing around these untruths and not looking for stuff themselves. I have a busy job. I just got back home. I'm still in. Well, other than the shirt being unbuttoned, I should probably button that up a little bit more. Right? It is almost 11 o'clock at night, and I'm still on my work computer because I'm still working. And yes, I'm a single guy, and I don't have children or a spouse that I need to worry about, and my hair looks really great today. Oh my gosh. But come on, people. There's no reason not to check Snopes or PolitiFact. If you don't like them, find another source that works. Just go to Google. Look for evidence. Look for details. Keep your eyes open. Because remember, you fought for the right to make these choices. And if you're giving them up to people you don't know on whatever website, you're being an idiot. That's what it comes down to. You've got to be aware of what is going on around you. And I don't mean be aware in a conspiracy theory or a whatever else. I mean, there is some merit to some of that, true. But just open up your eyes and look around and make your decisions with your heart and your mind and your eyes all together. don't let yourself be controlled by your emotions, but don't let emotion get totally out of the way either, right? Try to find that elusive balance. Try to find the way to look beyond the fault lines, to look beyond the oversimplifications, to look beyond the I'm right, you're wrong that gets pushed on us so much. Look for the reasons behind things. Don't just accept, oh my gosh, I saw like 3 posts from McMullen fans today that contradicted each other. And I was like, how can you say that 2/3 of Utahns have a favorable opinion of McMullen when you also say that only 51% of Utahns know who McMullen is? Like, do you not realize, like, you're putting that in the same thing? Like, how do you not notice that is a 15 point, it might have been 52%, I don't remember, like, gap, right? Pay attention to these little things. And yes, vote your conscience. Yes, exercise the responsibility that comes with the right to be well-informed. Yes, remember that there are a lot more important of elections than the presidency, because, like, really, the president doesn't have as much of an impact on the day-to-day life of the average person as the school board and the mayor do. We don't like to think of it that way, because that's not, big deal, fancy schmancy, but it's true. Sorry, I'm talking too much. I'll shut up now. I should have gotten into the rant as well at all. I should have just stuck with the Hubie Brown. But now it's like late, and I'm going to bed. I love you. Thanks, bye.